This is CityCast Philly. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. A judge is finally taking on dysfunction in the sheriff's office. Philly teachers and students are asking, where are the test scores for last year's state exams? Plus, we've got weekend plans, but they don't include going to the movies. We'll explain why. And for our final segment, just for our CityCast Philly neighbors, we're bringing in our newest team member who's going to share some deep Philly cuts with y'all. All right, we're over at the Filler Club today with CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz.
Hey there, Trenae.
Hey, so we were talking about what we're going to talk about on the show today, and you're like, we're going to talk about the sheriff. And I was like, okay, where is the story in the paper? And you're like, it's right there. And I'm like, it can't be right there because I don't know who that woman is. And I'm so used to the sheriff in her official sheriff uniform.
Yeah, this is the front page of the Inquirer. I handed it to you, and you were looking for like the sheriff in that law enforcement getup that she's always in, but she showed up yesterday to this court hearing in civilian clothes. It was very unusual to see her like that.
But why was she in court?
Yeah. So the sheriff's office is getting an overseer, and she was in court over this continued failure of her office to do one of its primary functions. The sheriff's office in the city of Philadelphia doesn't have a lot of responsibilities. One of the things that they do is provide security in the courts. And the other major thing that they do is process sheriff sales. So this is like when a homeowner falls behind on their mortgage payments, or when the bank is foreclosing on the property and wants to get rid of the homeowner, or someone hasn't paid their taxes and their property is being foreclosed for that reason. And they have these auctions where investors come in and try to buy the property.
Right.
Exactly right. So pretty straightforward. This happens and all over the country, every city in the country. But during COVID, there were no auctions. So after they restarted auctions following the end of the pandemic, there was this big backlog in paperwork, which everybody acknowledges. But the sheriff, who we'll talk about some of the problems managing her office, but the sheriff clearly did not get through this paperwork properly or with any sort of speed in which the investors and the city itself needed her to go through this paperwork. There's a lawyer representing a real estate investment group that was affected by all this, involved in a lawsuit that prompted this hearing. That lawyer said that the person in charge of real estate for the sheriff's office was manually filing documents, like not using the computer. And that manual system just like broke down after the pandemic ended. And there was this surge in auctions and paperwork. So bottom line, over the last couple of years, people who win these property auctions, these are maybe a bigger real estate investment firm. Maybe it's just a regular Philadelphian who's looking to seize a cheap property and is looking to make an investment and make some money and, use it as means of income. They've been winning these property auctions, paying the sheriff, but then they have to wait more than a year, sometimes longer than a year, to get the deed to the property, to actually own the thing. The sheriff has just not been processing the paperwork. And there is a lot of paperwork involved, far more complicated than I would understand. There's the accounting of who gets what money from the sale, et cetera, what banks are involved. What did you say
in the beginning? Yep. This is like one of the main duties of this office.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why there's been so much hubbub about it and controversy about it, because this is what you do. Why can't you do it? That's what culminated in a hearing this week. And what we found out in the hearing is that thousands of pages of documents that this judge had previously ordered the sheriff to turn over were never turned over to the court. They wanted documents to show like how your process is being fixed and what's going on. They were never turned over to the court.
The court had requested these documents in May.
Yeah, and some are missing. Some are just missing.
What the heck?
So the result of this hearing, the judges had enough, and she appointed an overseer to do outside supervision of the sheriff's office to make sure that they can start processing these deeds.
And this supervision is going to last for, I read, like 6 months?
Right. And they haven't appointed anybody just yet, but that should come soon.
Whew, take a breath.
Right.
Right? Because there's more to the story. All right? Since being sworn in as Philadelphia's sheriff in 2020, Rochelle Bilal
and this elected position.
Right.
And she came in as a reformer because there have been problems in the sheriff's office of Philadelphia going back decades.
Dysfunction, scandals before all this, right? Now, she comes into office and is basically trying to bring it up to date, right? Yet there are some allegations of just mismanagement of the funds. Let's talk about some of them that's been reported in the Philadelphia Citizen, in the Philadelphia Tribune, in the Inquirer, and even with us. We'll share that clip later. The $9,000 mascot, Deputy Sheriff Justice.
That's the name of the mascot. Why does the sheriff's office need a mascot? We're still not sure. The sheriff likes to do a lot of events in the community.
Right. Because she has said that she's trying to hire more deputies.
Which is true. They've had a shortage of staff. Yes.
And also there was a story about the no bid contract, which outsourced sheriff sales to a private online Maryland auction house. And that was in violation of Philadelphia's government contracting laws. And with all this criticism of the office as well, it takes me back to the time last year when we went into her office and sat down and spoke with her and asked her about the criticism. And we're going to share a clip in a second. But she has defended herself over these allegations and all this criticism. Listen to this clip.
First of all of those that are trying to criticize this office never sat down and had a conversation with me here. Never came in and said, what are you doing here? What are the things that you're facing? And as a newly elected official, never offered to assist, to help build this organization and bring it into the 21st century. Never did none of that.
What would you like?
First of all, at this point, you don't criticize something because you're getting it from one source. Your source is a media outlet that basically is mad. Because when I came in here, what I ran on was not spending $7.5 million on advertising, taking people home.
What she's alleging there with you is that the Inquirer, which has done a ton of investigative reporting about scandals in her office, is just out to get her because she was no longer going to advertise sheriff sales in their newspaper. Therefore, they'd be losing revenue. And the Inquirer told us that they, of course, denied that and said that they were doing appropriate journalism.
And what also stood out to me in that interview, too, is she talked about, when she came into the office, she wasn't received with like a warm welcome. Really shortly after she was sworn in, there was an investigation being done from the controller's office looking into 101 missing firearms in the sheriff's armory. And Bilal was like, hold up, don't pin that on my administration. That was from previous administrations.
Another piece of this, these allegations regarding her financial mismanagement. She got a $1.5 million budget increase in 2022 to recruit and hire additional staff. But she tried to use about $1 million of that to increase her salary and the salaries of her executive staff rather than use that money to actually hire additional sheriff's deputies.
She also asked the mayor for a 54% increase in her department's budget.
That was just this year.
And the mayor denied that request. Another example of alleged mismanagement of funds that's been reported focuses on custodial accounts. Now, the sheriff's office handles a lot of money from sales of tax delinquent properties, and that money goes to custodial accounts. Now, the money from these accounts is meant to pay down the debt on the delinquent properties before a deed is transferred to a buyer. However, Bilal allegedly used these funds to pay for office supplies and a staff party at Chickies and Pete's.
All the scandal, alleged scandal around her office It really was exemplified by the lead on the Inquirer story this week, front page, top of the fold, and it was extraordinary in its pointedness. It said, since being sworn in as Philadelphia sheriff in January 2020, Rochelle Bilal has brought new levels of dysfunction to an office with a history of corruption and scandal going back to the mid-19th century.
And despite the dysfunction, the Philadelphia Phillies honored her as a hometown hero this month.
Yeah.
She is the first elected African-American woman sheriff of the Philadelphia's sheriff's office.
Yeah, she continues to just have major political juice in town. She keeps getting, rebuked by judges. It wasn't just this issue. It was also the court security issue that we talked about last year, right? She was in hot water for not providing enough security in the courts and mishandling the staffing of her officers, which is her other primary duty. But
what's notable is that city council had done nothing about this,
absolutely.
Right? And so it took all of this to get to a judge.
Yeah, and what reformers want, what good government groups want, like Committee of 70 and some state legislators, is just to abolish the sheriff's office entirely.
And spread those duties to other departments.
Let the police department handle security at the courts. Let the city government, the city bureaucracy itself handle the processing of deeds for sheriff's sales. And this all sounds, if you've never been involved in a sheriff's sale, and probably most people haven't, it all sounds like, well, how does this affect me? But it really has an impact on our neighborhoods, because these properties that are going for sheriff's sale, they can sit empty, they can deteriorate, they can collapse into your home, right? I mean, and if a buyer can't take hold of the property because the sheriff hasn't given him or her the deed, then they can't go in there and make improvements. They can't go in there and put a family in there, and it's just more vacant lots. It's more, decrepit buildings. And if there's hundreds, even thousands of these around the city, it really adds up and makes a difference.
So the department is still going to keep control of sheriff sales. It just now has supervision.
Right. But we'll see how that supervision goes. I mean, if it doesn't work out, certainly we could see some of the powers of the sheriff's office. The judge could order those, moved elsewhere, or have somebody else handle it, or just increase the oversight. We'll see if the office is able to fix itself over the next few months. And, meanwhile, it now doesn't only affect neighborhoods, it also affects these property owners who are invested money to buy these properties, but they can't get their money back in the investment until they can rent out the property or
fix it up
and sell it. So all those folks are waiting as well. It really does have a lot of ripple effects.
All right, we've got more news after the break. The Pennsylvania Department of Education notified the district and others statewide that the results of PSSAs, or those Keystone State exams, the test scores are delayed. Now, these are those tests that kids spend several days taking, and teachers and principals use these scores to assess a student and figure out, which classes to put them in. Do they need more support? Where should teachers be dispersed in the school? And where we need more resources. Where should we spend the resources? Chalkbeat Philadelphia reports that usually educators are getting these results in June.
They didn't get them yet. There's some preliminary data out there, but the schools haven't gotten these test scores. Parents and students haven't gotten these test scores. And it's actually outrageous, and it feels like a potential scandal here. I mean, our education system in recent years has just become totally centered around these standardized tests. I mean, this is how we determine the direction a student goes through the course of his or her educational career.
And also it helps with school selection.
All that stuff.
Where do they go to school?
Yeah. I mean, the kids sit for days every spring. This happens everywhere around the country.
Eat a good breakfast.
They do. They're always it's a very important.
Get your student to sleep.
There's so much communication in advance of it. It's stressful for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And the effect is significant because, like you said, the tests determine not just like what classes they're put into, but what magnet schools they're being admitted to. And we normally get these results by now, and because now is when the school selection process particularly for like fourth graders who are applying for middle school and eighth graders who are applying for high school, this is what they use to determine if they can get into the magnet schools in the city. And this determines like sometimes whether they're even going to stay in the city because they don't want to go to the local high school, the local catchment high school.
Okay, so what are all the like higher ups saying about this?
It seems like the district is blaming the state. And the state is sort of saying, well, the district already got preliminary data.
And the data is still being analyzed.
Right.
Like what?
Why? So my kids took these tests and they were not happy that they were having to take them completely on the computer. Because first of all, you have to like show your work. And you can't like show your work with a pencil.
Like scribbles?
You have to use a cursor to like do the scribble. So that was annoying. Also, neither of my kids were able to started the test on time. There were all these delays statewide, all these computer glitches. It did not go off smoothly.
They were using desktops or like tablets?
They're using their Chrome laptops.
Or the Chrome laptops.
Yeah.
Those tiny laptops.
My kids said a couple hours they were delayed. Kids' sense of time can be exaggerated, but the district said 40 minutes.
It was a delay.
It was a delay. Some districts around the state, like the kids had to take the test the next day because they couldn't get in at all. So there was all this disruption in terms of the administration of the test. And there seems to be speculation in these news articles that affected the test scores and made them worse. And now, is that why we're not getting the test scores? Because they were so bad? I don't know. I mean, no one seems to be being completely straightforward with this. Superintendent Watlington, the district superintendent, said, given the delays with that online test, he would actually wish he could redo the test entirely, which indicates he thinks the test results were poor, right?
What?
But he knows that's not practical.
Right.
So given the fact that there aren't results yet, his other potential option is to create a whole new just Philly district test that kids who want to try to get into the magnet schools would take over the next couple of months.
I'm shaking my head.
And is it going to be on material they learned last year? Who's going to prepare them for it?
Is it going to be digital? Is it going to be Scantron, right?
Yeah.
What if you took away the test altogether and found other methods for understanding student development?
That sounds wonderful to me because we have become so oriented around these tests. But I think that's a bigger issue than Philly. It seems like our whole country's educational system is now oriented around, giving kids these big state exams every spring and then using that to determine their educational future. And the fact that these tests could not be administered properly, clearly they screwed up. They screwed up with using the computers to have the kids sit for these exams, and they screwed up in releasing the data. And that's the kind of stuff that really makes people frustrated and cynical about public education, that this could not be managed properly. In reading the articles in the Inquirer and Chalkbeat, didn't it just feel like somebody's not being straight with us?
It felt like it was being like worded in different ways, but there was little to no like real further explanation.
No.
It was just like, oh, data is still processing.
And we have preliminary data, maybe,
some
but we can't use it.
Yeah.
I would like more clarity very soon. And if I was a parent of a child who needed test scores in order to apply for special select schools, I'd be extremely frustrated and concerned right now. And this is the kind of thing where the governor should be weighing in. I mean, this is his State Department of Education. And I'd be curious to know, like, if he's able to do some fact finding here to understand what went wrong and to make sure it doesn't continue.
We've got more after the break. Matt, what are you doing this weekend?
Well, I'm not going to the movies.
especially to that landmark Ritz 5 movie theater.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like not surprised that this place is closed because like, when's the last time you went there?
It's been years.
I know.
I'm either going to Fashion District or University City for movies.
The last time I went was on a first date 14 years ago.
Wow. This is that a movie theater by the cobblestone streets in Old City, right by the, IMP towers there.
Yeah, it's on Walnut Street. So this place received 7 violations in March, including failure to obtain a permit to install a fire alarm system, not showing documentation that the fabrics on the chairs are flame retardant.
I mean, that is scary
That's
stuff.
insane.
And if there's so many sound effects going that you might not even know there's a fire in a movie, like a fire movie, that's the stuff of nightmares. I mean, listen, we've been reporting how there's dysfunction levels of city and state government, right? And this is a city department that's functioning, appears in a good way, a positive way for the health and safety of the community. L&I, licenses and inspections. They went in there and be like, no, you guys have to have a working fire alarm system.
Yes. Other violations were like making sure that the exit doors fully self-close and latch, emergency lighting, and there was a missing food license.
What?
Now, this place opened up 1976, 3 screens. I think there's like 5 screens now.
And now the Riverview on Columbus Boulevard was supposed to reopen, and that's not happening. So we're really like hard up for movie theaters in the city. I mean, this might reopen, but we don't know.
They got to fix these violations.
Yeah. The marquee there where it shows the movies that are playing. I mean, the letters are kind of falling off. I mean, it looks a little rough around the edges, the Ritz 5.
Yeah.
So no movies this weekend.
No movies this weekend, but there will be a show of some sorts.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Cycling Classic is back in town.
It's been gone for 10 years. This is a big deal. It's an international event. It attracts more than 100,000 spectators, and it's a professional race. Like, these are like real cyclists from around the world. It starts on the Ben Franklin Parkway, follows like the curves of the Schuylkill River. It goes up the Great Wall of Philadelphia, which is that hill in Manayunk. The Great Wall of Philadelphia is such a funny name. Goes through Lemon Hill, and then it circles back around. There's a women's race and a men's race. The women's race is 62 miles. So it's a 14.4 mile loop. And so they go around a few times. The men's race is 120 miles, and that one starts at noon. So they go around, I don't know how many that is. That's like 7 or 8 times. Well, the women's race, 8:30 a.m.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, got
it.
And
then the men's race is noon. And the winners of each race gets $75,000. And there's also going to be a fan fest. So it's just like we had for the World Cup. Mm-hmm. It's Saturday and Sunday near the Iroquois statue at Aikens Oval. And there's going to be DJs and mini bike courses, bike demonstrations. They're going to have vendors. Entrance is free. But if you're not going to the race, there's going to be a ton of road closures. I think already the inner lanes of the Ben Franklin Parkway are closed. And there's going to be tons of closures all around that Schuylkill River Art Museum area. This was brought back in part because former Mayor Michael Nutter got involved and tried to bring back this race that had been losing money for several years. And
it takes a lot of money to put on these festivals.
Yeah, exactly. But it should be a fun event, and they'll be wearing clothes, unlike last week's Philly Naked Bike Ride. Did you see the Philly Naked Bike Ride?
I saw some of the photos.
I couldn't believe they let some of those photos on Instagram.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of info on the Philadelphia Cycling Classic in the new newsletter that we've been putting out the last couple of months.
Keep it local.
Keep it local. So it's basically a shopping guide. It comes out every Thursday, free to your inbox. And this week, our writer, Marie Albajes, she put in a bunch of info about the race into her newsletter and gave a list of great places to buy and rent bikes around the city. So in all different kinds of neighborhoods, really great resource. If you go to philly.citycast.fm, on the top left corner, you'll see a button for Keep It Local, and you can check out this week's newsletter. You can also subscribe to the newsletter every week.
All right. And as always, before we go, we have some new CityCast Philly neighbors, Mario D and Sabina L. And our neighbor Jenna O says, I love Goodbye Supply, a plastic-free refill store in East Passyunk. You can get all kinds of eco-friendly products and refill your own containers with soaps, lotions, cleaning products. They also collect glass bottles for Bottle Underground, and the owners are very helpful and super nice. That's great. All right, that's the end of the show if you're not a CityCast Philly neighbor. But if you are a neighbor, we've got a great segment coming up for you. Now.
We're going to get some deep cuts. We're going to meet our newest CityCast Philly team member.
All right, Matt, thanks for joining me on this week's Friday News Roundup.
Have a fun weekend, Trenae.
That's all for us today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our creative producers are Abby Fritz and Siani Colon. Our newsletter editor is Natalia Aldana. Our producers are Matilde Urfolino and Noah Snyderman. Our senior account executive is Maureen Kaiser. Our audience development manager is Spencer Morris. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoyed this week of episodes, share it with a friend. Also rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.